Today we're sitting down with Aryeh Sunshine. How are you, Mr. Sunshine?
We are doing good. We are doing good. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure to have you. So I'm going to ask you the same question that I'm going to ask everyone who is in this specific bundle of the season. What does the word religious mean to you?
What does the word religious? Are we going straight into it right now?
Straight into it.
What does the word religious mean to me? I would say if I could give it one explanation as far as off the top of my head, religious or religion in general is you know, being okay with where you're at. And what I mean by that is that nowadays the word religion can be so misconceived. It could be used in so many ways. And the way that I look at it is like if you're happy or if you know that you're on the right path to where you want to be or doing the right thing, then whatever you may be doing, whether you're keeping all 613 mitzvahs or whether you're just starting to keep kosher, whatever it may be, I think as long as you're happy with where you're at or happy with the path that you're going on, then you can consider yourself religious, and that's what I would say religion means.
All right, profound answers. So let's dive into who you are, where you're coming from, and everything that just went into that answer. So, what is it like being a kid from Akron, Ohio?
Well, as tough as a decision as it is, I had to move out to South Beach like my guy LeBron. But in reality, growing up in Cleveland, Ohio, I think it taught me a lot of things that I wouldn't learn anywhere else. It taught me the value of friendships, of families, of going to sleep and not going to any stores past 8 o'clock. Always good to know, especially now in adult life, with those things closing down. And yeah, I think just the value of family, friendships, and being true to myself is definitely some positives growing up in Cleveland.
Do you think the Cleveland modern Orthodox community is strong and provides a strong Jewish identity?
Definitely. The Cleveland Jewish community, whether it's religious, secular religion, or, any type of way that you would want to call it, I'd say is extraordinarily strong. Very underrated, very big. I don't know the exact numbers about it, but definitely up there in the United States. And, Cleveland is not up there in many things in the United States. But if you look into it, I had someone tell me the other day that it's within the top, I think, 10 or within that range of Jewish communities. And as far as strong, yeah, I definitely think it provides people with the opportunity to be whoever they want to be, and whatever level of religion that is. There's boundless opportunities there.
Would you rather live in Cleveland or Chicago?
That's a tough question. Are you asking current REA, former REA, future REA?
The whole picture. We'll go with current Aria.
Current REA, I would probably rather live in Chicago, and it definitely pains me to say it. Not trying to live in the past here, but Ida Crown was probably the biggest rivals back in the day. But Chicago, I think, is a mix between New York and Cleveland, whereas you have great people and a great city and opportunities as well, but it's not as crazy as New York is or maybe, and it's not as laid back as Cleveland is. So I'd take Chicago right now just because it kind of seems like the best of both worlds.
Gotcha. So we're a pretty anti-Chicago podcast, but that's fine. I guess we don't even think about Cleveland. So back to the reason you're on the podcast, Mr. Sunshine, besides for just being a phenomenal character and a great person to have to listen to for a half hour, whatever it is. Would you say that at any point in your life you went off the derech?
Definitely, definitely. And the derech is, I would say, a synonymous word to religion in my mind, in the sense that there's no real definition to it. People could say there's a definition to it, and if you ask 10 people, I guarantee you'd get at least 7, 8 different answers. Maybe two or three people have the same answers because they grew up in the same because they reached out to 7, 8 people of their own and had the same answers. But for the most part, you're going to get different answers. But bringing it back to the question, I definitely would say that I did. I grew up pretty modern Orthodox, as far as, keeping kosher, keeping Shabbos, going to Shacharis every day for school, getting up before 9 a.m. It'd be 8 a.m. Shacharis every day, and that was like definitely a big part in my life, and like not something I took for granted, but it was kind of just like systematic.
Mhm.
But yeah, I would say honestly, I started quote unquote going off the derech, or more like figuring out what other options there were out there. I would say during my year in Israel, and that's not a shot, at the place where I went or the people who I was around too, because this was a me thing more than anything else. And then after that, I would say the first couple of years of college, definitely experimented and tried different things out. And so yeah, I would say that's where I kind of saw my journey take a turn in a different direction than quote unquote the derech. But yeah, I think I answered the question there. I'm not sure.
Yeah, so you actually dove into something that I wanted to touch upon. How do you feel about the term off the derech?
How do I feel about the term off the derech? I think it's a good term to have because in general, it gives people a sense of, where you once were / where you want to be. It's kind of a place, I guess derech is like path, but I think of it more as a place. But I also think that, um, it's tough to say whether someone's, off the derech, on the derech. In reality, everyone has their own different derech. Everyone has their own journey, and so even if quote unquote someone's derech is stopping to keep Shabbos, stopping to keep kosher, that doesn't mean that they're off it. Maybe that means that they're actually on it. They're going through what their life is transpiring to be, but maybe that's exactly where they need to be at that time. So I think that derech is a good word, but I think the way people use it maybe could be adjusted a little bit.
Gotcha. So you mentioned Israel and college. So just want to go deeper into your college experience. Can you tell us more about what colleges you attended and what was caused by the environment you were in?
Yeah, for sure. So I started off my collegiate career at Columbus State Community College. The community college is connected to Ohio State,
The Ohio State.
and the Ohio State. Thank you for correcting me. I was thinking about saying it, but then I was like, I don't know if I should say it, but you know what? You got me. You got me on the right side there. But yeah, it was pretty crazy because I went from an environment, graduating high school, 23 kids, going to yeshiva, 25, 26 kids, and then being in that environment, Columbus State, Ohio State, 60,000 people. Um, it was crazy, and so that definitely gave me a lot of different experiences. Kind of showed me, everything that was out there, and that was a time in and of itself. In reality, it didn't last so long. I think I was there about 6 months. Just to remember, I was 18 years old. I kind of didn't have my feet on the ground at that point, and so I was just living in the moment, having a good time. And my parents told me after 6 months, I think they saw that first report card, and they were like, "Yeah, man, we are not sponsoring, this party anymore." So I went from there. I went back home to Cleveland. I went to Cuyahoga Community College. So it was my second community college, and shout out to Tri-C. That's what they call it over there in the land. Definitely taught me how to sit down, take classes seriously, and actually gain something from it. From there, I went to my third community college, which was Borough of Manhattan Community College. Great place. I think all three community colleges provided different, really valuable lessons per each one. Columbus State, I really couldn't take advantage of it just because I was so sidetracked by everything else going on. And then, yeah, after after Borough Manhattan Community College, I eventually transferred to Baruch, both of our alma maters, and yeah, Baruch definitely taught me about New York City. And as cliche as it gets, I think that if you can make it in Baruch, you can make it anywhere. Same thing with New York City. So yeah, I don't know if I answered the question again, but if I missed anything, let
Yeah,
me know.
for sure. You're answering all the questions. Don't worry about it. So yeah, I actually minored in New York City studies, so definitely learned a lot about New York City. And you definitely have a colorful collegiate career. And I'm wondering, when you say off the Derech, if you're comfortable sharing exactly where you were and where you ended up, and just kind of, I remember when we first met in Israel, but we really met more so downtown. And when we started to become friends downtown, you still were not on the Derech. And then one day during the summer, if you remember, I saw you at Minion on a weekday. And I'm like, what is Sunshine doing here? And so I just want to hear kind of the details of where you were, let's say after high school, your path in Israel and college, more details on what you actually did, if you're willing to share, and kind of like how you came back to it.
For sure, for sure. And I want to start off my answer by saying that I'm extremely grateful and appreciative for every single school and institution and anything that I've been a part of. I hope with the answers that I'm saying or anything like that no one's taking offense to it. I think Fuchs Mizrahi did and does an amazing job. I think Ashrenu does an amazing job, and all the colleges that I went to also unbelievable. So, big shout out to them. I don't want, anything that I say to be taken out of context, because I do really appreciate it. And there are definitely people that I'm forever grateful for in all those places. Um, back to the question though, like where I was at. So, after graduating high school, I was still keeping Shabbos, keeping kosher, living a day to day, quote unquote, modern Orthodox life. And then in Israel, you're kind of taken out of the bubble of high school, and you're given this freedom to decide things on your own. You go out to Tel Aviv, you go out to Jerusalem, Ben Yehuda, like you're given all this opportunity, and it's kind of there for you. So I definitely took advantage of that, and so I'd say I probably stopped keeping Shabbos there. And again, it had nothing to do with where I was at or who I was with. This was really me figuring out who I was type of thing. Um, and so yeah, I think that I stopped keeping Shabbos and stopped keeping kosher when I was in Israel, and that kind of lasted, I would say, 4 or 5 years, even leading into me coming to New York, coming to New York eventually. I think the days where I was at Ohio State or Columbus State Community Colleges were definitely some of my least religious days. But yeah, I mean, if I could do everything again, if I had the choice to do that or to, do something else, I would do it again 100 times over. Because again, the people who I met at Ohio State, the people, who I met at these different community colleges, and the relationships that I built, and the people who I'm still in touch with, I'm grateful. I'm blessed. I don't mean that in like an arrogant way or anything like that, but like, yeah, I think that as far as religious wise, I wasn't really doing so much, but I was learning from people. I was learning about life, and that was a big thing. And I think I came to New York eventually because I was like, you know what, I want to be in a environment where I could hang out with people, go out, but also have the Jewish lifestyle of like, there's shul if I want to go, or there's these events where I know other people will be who are more affiliated, more on that derech that we were discussing before. And so yeah, once I was in New York, honestly, there were a couple of big steps along the way as far as what took me to where I'm at. I would say one of them is that I woke up one morning and I had like this terrible, terrible stomach pain. Granted, I had been drinking very heavily the night before. So I was like, you know what, maybe it's just a stomach ache, like this will pass. But it lasted like a good day or so. So I went to the doctor. You know, doctor's like, listen, you know, you kind of need to change your diet. You need to change your regimen because you know what you're doing right now is not healthy. And so, you know, besides drinking, and I wasn't like a heavy drinker or anything like that, but you know, a regular weekend drinker, and I was also kind of just eating, you know, everything, fast food, like not keeping kosher, kind of just eating, you know, the normal college kids lifestyle and what they would eat. So that was a big step for me because I knew I needed to go on a diet, and I knew that if I started keeping kosher, you know, even if it was just meat, I knew that I would, you know, be eating healthier because I had a lot of friends who, you know, were keeping kosher, who were cooking at home, or you know, there was a lot more food available that would have been healthier than just fast food. Granted, it may have been a little more expensive, but I think it was worth it for the health benefits. Um, yeah, that was one thing. Let me know if I'm rambling on too
No,
much.
no, it's good. Keep going.
Another thing, you know, I don't know if this guy is gonna ever watch this podcast, but someone who really had a really big impact on me is Moshe Fryer. He's a guy who I went to yeshiva with. You know, definitely an all-time guy. And so I think the impact he had on me was it was the first summer in which I had moved to New York, and he came to stay for a Shabbos. You know, I wasn't keeping Shabbos, or I was starting to keep kosher at that point, but I wasn't keeping Shabbos yet. And yeah, I mean, it was a powerful weekend. I can't really explain it, but you know, he kind of just, you know, we spoke a lot. You know, we talked very deeply, and you know, ever since that weekend, I've definitely been more interested in trying to keep Shabbos. So those two things I would say had a very big impact. Was one, when the doctor told me like you have to change your lifestyle, you have to change, you know, your eating habits. I kind of took that as a sign. And the second thing was, you know, Moshe coming over for that weekend and kind of, yeah, telling me a couple of things that I, you know, could be doing better. And he kind of opened my eyes to a couple of things in which I didn't think were too crazy to try and do. And yeah, definitely shout out to him.
Okay, so a more surprising sight than even seeing you at Minion that morning was when Jason Lazarus, our director of HR, and I saw you and our classmate Yocheved at the ZOA gala, and we found out that you were dating. So obviously you're now married, otherwise I wouldn't bring that up. That'd be very strange. So I'm wondering, how did you meet Yocheved? And did you feel like you yourself were religiously settled when you met Yocheved?
It's a great question. I'll start off by saying that, you know, even today, current day as is, I wouldn't consider myself religiously settled. You know, every single day is a journey, and so you know that. Adding on to that point, you know, I'm kind of talking about where I was less religious versus more religious. I don't think I'm, you know, on that Derech. You know, I don't think I'm on that line even today. You know, every day is a journey. Every day is something else. You know, a new challenge, a new opportunity. You know, I'm grateful for it, and you know, I think I'm in a thank God, a great place. But as far as religiously settled, that's an everyday type of journey. So that definitely not when I, you know, met Yocheved, but even nowadays, I would say, you know, it's still a challenge, still an opportunity for me to grow. But getting back to how me and Yocheved met, we were on a Hillel Shabbaton. Shout out to Hillel of Baruch. Love you guys. So many free pizzas, so many food opportunities, you know, opportunities to meet people. And so, yeah, they kind of convinced me to go on this Shabbaton. You know, so I was just chilling, having a good time in the Hamptons. And it was Saturday, Shabbos afternoon. And there was a couple of different sports going on. As you may know, you know, I definitely take sports pretty seriously. For the viewers out there, me and Evan were on the same basketball team for a little. It was absolutely an amazing opportunity to play with you. Hope we could do it again. And yeah, we were out there playing sports, and so I was like, you know what, Aryeh, like you got to calm down. You got to take it, a little less seriously. This is obviously just a fun environment. And then I saw this I saw Yocheved, and she was giving it 110%. It was a soccer game, and she was giving it 110%. And I was like, who is that? Everyone else just chilling, passing the ball around. Obviously, I'm giving it 110%. I'm in my Shabbos clothes, schwitzing, and I see Yocheved giving it 100% too, and I was like that's crazy. Like I've never seen someone else like give it that much effort before. And so that was probably my first big impression of Yocheved. Got to know her over that weekend, and yeah, the religion thing. Yocheved was definitely more religious than me when we first met, but it was never like something where I thought about like, oh, this is too crazy. Because going back to the first point, religion is just a term. There's no real definition to religion. It's kind of everyone's on this path in my mind, on their own path. And so we just happened to meet at the right time. I'm blessed, thank God. And yeah, I think we really hit it off from there. Obviously, it took some getting used to, because even when we met, which was November 2019, I believe, like right before the pandemic, I still wasn't keeping Shabbos full time. I would say, I was trying, but I wasn't keeping it full time. And I think that she has just been an extremely amazing help for me, trying to find out more about who I am, helping me out on my religious journey. And, I hope that I could be the same for her.
That's amazing to hear. And I just want to second the note that it was great playing on the same team as you a year ago in the Young Israel League. And I do hope to do that again one day. And so I'm wondering, do you think that if you had never met Yocheved, you would be where you are today religiously? Or what do you think would happen in that scenario? And do you think that, let's say you were still single, do you think that dating itself, no matter who it was, had an impact on you religiously?
Two great questions. As far as like right now where I am, and if I would have been here, if I wasn't with Yocheved, I would say eventually it probably would have been a slower process, to get to where I am. I think that Yocheved being, at the level of religion that she was at, definitely helped me, I guess, strive at a faster pace. But I definitely was interested. I don't think it was like, oh, I met Yocheved and then boom, there's this 180 transformation. I think I was kind of, on this journey going upwards, and she kind of helped me get from, level 2 to level 5 or whatever it is. And so, yeah, definitely grateful for that. And I think your second question was something about it having to do with dating and religion wise. Can you repeat the second question you had?
Sure. Yeah. Just, do you think that if you were single and not dating anyone, not married, then that would have an impact on you religiously? Do you think that the accountability, no matter who you're with, has an impact on you, on anyone religiously?
That's another great question. Um, I think that there would be some differences. I don't know if I would be exactly where I'm at today, but again, it's tough to say. I don't think I could put a clear-cut answer on that, because even with the slightest change of things, things could have been totally different. But never take anything for granted, and definitely really happy with where I'm at right now. So I don't know if I could answer that, as far as like, just because I don't know. You know what
For
I'm
sure.
saying?
For sure. So I'm not sure how familiar you are with the general setup process, but I'm sure you know that people are pretty nitpicky when it comes to religion. And do you have any advice for people that are maybe overly nitpicky when it comes to hashkafa or religion? And is there anything you think people should maybe care less about before even going on a first date?
Yeah, definitely. Evan, I got to tell you, these questions are 5 star.
I'm a seasoned
Um,
vet by now.
wow. Um, what I would say is, open and broaden your horizons at the beginning, definitely. Whether it's a first date or even just hanging out with somebody, regardless of their religious level, I think for the first couple of dates, you could kind of throw everything out the window and kind of see where your minds are at. What, not about religion, not about any one thing or the other, but kind of just see if you guys mesh, if you fit well together, if you could carry a conversation, and if you enjoy being around them. I think that as things start to get a little more serious, it's good to have things set, like in the sense that I think that conversations need to be had, um as far as like, oh, I'll do this one day, or I won't do this one day. I don't think it should be like that. I think it should kind of be like, oh, we've kind of discussed this. If you're interested in doing it, can we try both keeping Shabbos, or can we try only eating dairy out instead of eating meat? So again, to go back to your question, I think that everyone needs to go in with an open mindset, wherever it is. Like, you never know, you can never judge a book by its cover. And I think in today's day and age, when everyone knows everyone and everyone's mutual friends with everyone, you kind of hear a lot about a person even before you go out with them. And I don't think that's so fair. You know what I'm saying? I think
Yeah.
that everyone should give everybody a chance, because you never know when you're going to meet your soulmate. You never know when you're going to meet the person who you're going to spend the rest of your life with. So I think that, besides just like listening to what other people are saying, or like looking at somebody's Facebook or Instagram and being like, oh, he wasn't wearing a kippah there, or he was shirtless, or she wasn't wearing sleeves that were covering whatever it may be. I think you kind of have to throw that out the back door and just go in open mindset, and yes, see where things go.
Okay, so we're gonna dive into a segment here on the MoPod called "Let Me Paint You a Picture," which in season one was strictly dating stories, but now we're gonna make it expand it a little. Gonna be a religious journey question. You ready?
Ready.
Okay. Scott grew up modern Orthodox, but never really resonated with halacha. He went to a yeshiva day school, but did not get along with any of his rabbis. Whilst attending a secular college, he met a girl on campus who he really liked, and this girl lived a religious lifestyle that Scott felt was meaningful and worth pursuing. Jewish. They started dating, and Scott started picking up various tendencies and becoming more and more observant of halacha. After dating for a year, Scott was shocked when his girlfriend ended things, and he found out that she was cheating on him. Scott couldn't handle the betrayal and broke up with her. Scott doesn't know what to do because the basis of his religiosity came from his ex-girlfriend who did this terrible thing, but he did feel like his life was becoming more meaningful. What advice would you give to Scott?
I would tell Scott that, as much as he thinks that his journey was solely based on his girlfriend, I think it was a lot more to do with him personally. I think that even though he may say that, every part of the foundation that he has is from her, he should really look into whether or not that's factual, or that's more coming from his emotions in the moment. I think he could kind of tend to overreact to things during a stressful time, such as a breakup, and an emotional time, and he should kind of you know try things on his own for a little bit, meaning continue with the lifestyle he was trying, with the halachas that he was into. And if he's still interested, then yeah, great, then he realizes this is who he's supposed to be. And if perchance it was that he was only doing it for her, then I think he's got to start at step one again. If he's interested. If he's not interested, do what he's interested in doing. I'm a big believer in everybody doing what they're interested in doing. Life's too short to be living someone else's lifestyle. But again, I think the biggest thing would be to try and see, like, if it really was something that he was doing just for somebody, or if it was something that he was internally wanting to do himself. And if he's still interested, but it was like he was doing it for somebody else, then, you kind of got to start in step one, go over the motions, go through what you did the first time, and see where it takes you.
Awesome advice. Moving on to the MoPod lightning round. You ready?
I hope so,
Why was 6 afraid of 7?
because 7, 8, 9.
Do you prefer WhatsApp or iMessage?
WhatsApp.
Who is your favorite player on the Cleveland Browns?
That's tough because they always get traded, but I would say nowadays probably Myles Garrett.
Okay. Even though he assaulted Mason Rudolph?
Listen, that's a Pittsburgh Steeler. I'll allow anything.
Okay. Favorite shul you've ever been to?
The shul in the Hamptons that I was at for the weekend, I met Yocheved.
Wow, very nice. Would you rather wake up at 5 a.m. every day or go to sleep at 3 a.m. every night?
Wake up at 5 a.m.
Do you prefer top sheets or duvet covers?
I don't know what either of those really mean. I just do one sheet.
Okay. Do you own more jerseys or baseball hats?
Jerseys.
Thank you, Aryeh Sunshine, for coming on the MoPod. Anything else you want our listeners to know before we sign off?
Every day is a journey. Throw judgment out the window. Judgment, I feel like, comes to the top of people's minds, but don't let it get to you. Live a good life, meet good people, have good times, and wishing everybody the best. I appreciate you having me on here.
All right. Thank you, sir. Pump the volume.